Pluto, god of the underworld, returns to the 29th degree of Capricorn, September 1st, the anaretic degree of Capricorn, where he will be September 1st through November 19th. This is the last time Pluto will be at this degree of Capricorn in our lifetimes. In fact, this is the last time Pluto will be at this degree of Capricorn for the next 248 years. So this marks a very important moment in world history. It marks a very important moment in the history of humanity, and it certainly marks an important moment in the history of the United States of America, as it is also America's Pluto return. Again, something that happens only every 248 years. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video, I am going to talk about the meaning of Pluto returning to the final 29th degree of Capricorn, September 1st through November 19th. But first, I just want to say, if you're watching this on Instagram, I'm only going to post the first 5 minutes of the video here. The entire video will be available on my YouTube channel, Eliane Nicole. My YouTube channel is my name, Eliane Nicole. I highly recommend that you go over to YouTube and watch the entire video, because this, again, is a very important moment in history, and there will be a lot of astrological wisdom that I transmit in this video. I don't read a script, but I study the astrology and then I channel it to you. And this is my free offering, but I always recommend that you contact me for a reading one-on-one. My information can be found on my socials of how to contact me. And if you're watching this on Instagram, please make sure that you are following astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. And wherever you're watching, like, comment, share. It helps me in the algorithm, and it helps put me in a position to continue to give these free astrological offerings. Now, without further ado, Pluto at the 29th degree of Capricorn. If you follow my astrology, you know that the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they are very slow moving. They take a long time to orbit the sun. Pluto, the subject of this video, takes 248 years to orbit the sun. So in our lifetimes, we don't even get to see Pluto in every sign. And where Pluto is relates more to what we have, like in our own personal charts, will relate more to what we have in common with our generation than necessarily being a personal meaning to us. But what we have in common with our generation is in many ways also personal to us. But it's different than the moon that moves every 2.5 days, or our rising sign that changes every couple of hours, or our sun sign that changes every month. Pluto, our Pluto sign in our chart, has to do with what we have in common with our generation. And Pluto transits as well have to do more with the collective experience, unless it's forming a direct aspect by degree to any of our personal planets. So Pluto coming back to the 29th degree of Capricorn is going to be very personal to you if you're a Capricorn and you have any planets in the last degrees of Capricorn, 26 to 29 degrees Capricorn. Also, if you have any planets in the late degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, this is going to be very personal to you. And even if you have any planets in the late degrees of the earth signs, Virgo or Taurus, this will also be personal to you. In fact, if you have any planets in the late degrees, 26 to 29 degrees, Virgo or Taurus, I would argue that this is going to be a very empowering transit, and that you were going to get a jewel, a gift from Pluto. Because as much as Pluto is god of the underworld is also where the treasure lies. But it's the treasure that you have to go down into the underworld and face your shadows and face your demons and face Hades in order to mine and receive. If you have planets in the late degrees of the cardinal signs, which I mentioned, this might be a more difficult experience. Again, dealing with Pluto, we are facing the shadow, we are facing our fears, we are facing our grief. As a nation in the United States of America, the last time Pluto was at this degree was in 1776. This is when they signed the Declaration of Independence. And at that time, Pluto hadn't been discovered, which is interesting because when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they did pick that time and date with the astrology. You know, many of the founding fathers were Freemasons and they studied astrology. They used its power and its wisdom. But Pluto hadn't been discovered. So it was the unseen in that chart, you know, and so a lot of these issues that we are dealing with now as America's on its Pluto return, the forefathers did not have the foresight. They didn't see this stuff coming up. This is stuff that was in their blind spot. And now we are dealing with it as a nation, as Pluto is in its Pluto return. And at this 29th degree, it's the final degree of Capricorn. So Pluto entered Capricorn 2007, 2008. So if you want to think about it in terms of your personal life and your personal birth chart, go back to what was happening around that time and understand that somewhere in your life, you are completing a cycle where Pluto has transformed deeply, slowly, profoundly some sector of your life. And it can be seen by whatever house Capricorn rules in your chart. For the collective, you know, you can look at 2000 and 2008 and see the banking collapse and you know, what was going on, the housing collapse and all of those things, and Obama coming into his presidency. You know, that 2007 to 2008 was arguably the beginning of the end of the system and the establishment as we know it. In 2020, it largely came to a head. On January 12th, 2020, all of the planets aligned in Capricorn. And a couple months later, the entire world shut down. And we were very able to see how much we are a collective and how much we are all one organism. It feels like since we have forgotten that and the rat race is back on as strong as ever. But I think that the Pluto return is going to really bring us back to that lesson, that knowledge that I think that we're supposed to get of how we are really all one, and what's happening with any of us truly affects all of us. America's Pluto return, September 1st to November 19th, the last time Pluto will be at the 29th degree of Capricorn in our lifetimes. Wow, there's so much to say about this. I think a lot of it has to do with the crumbling of top-down structures, the crumbling of hierarchical structures, the crumbling of the establishment, the grand finale of the system as we know it. You know, there are some other things going on, like Uranus going retrograde the same day. Pluto and Uranus will be in a harmonious trine with each other, which means that they're working together, which means that these shakeups, these changes, this volatility, these rebellions, the protests, the deep transformation, the darkness that we have to face is all for a reason. These are growing pains, and it has to do with the evolution of humanity. We're stagnant, we're stuck, We need to progress. These growing pains aren't easy. Our souls, Pluto represents the soul. Our souls have chosen to be here for some reason at this time, to be a part of this change and to be a part of this progress, which brings me to the point of Neptune, the other outer planet. And see, these outer planets, because they move so slow, they have to do with the era, they have to do with the generation, they are the transpersonal planets. They have to do with the collective, and we are part of a collective. Our personal story, our individual needs, desires, wants, families, careers, money, health, whatever, is part of a bigger story. It's part of the human collective and the human history. And the fact that Neptune is in a sextile to both Pluto and Uranus in this water sign, as they're both trining each other in earth signs, this is growth, this is fertility. They are working together, these outer planets. Neptune is the oneness that connects us all. Pluto is god of the underworld, our shadow. Uranus is abrupt and sudden changes and volatility. And they are working in harmony with each other, although it is translating as these very difficult, painful experiences here on planet Earth. But the fact that they're working together in harmony, the fact that it's in the cosmos, means this is in divine order, whether our little human brains can wrap our heads around it or not. But our job as souls inhabiting bodies on this earth at this time is to imagine, Neptune, imagine a better future. Imagine how we pull ourselves out of this stagnation. Imagine how we rise to the occasion of these eruptions and this volatility and these earthquakes and volcanoes, metaphorically and literally, and how we imagine, Neptune, a better future. The imagination is more important than the intellect. I think it was Einstein that said that. And it's up to us to imagine the future. Everything that's around us, anything that you can see in this tangible world, was in somebody's imagination before it was brought down to earth. And we can either get tossed around by these cosmic currents, or we can imagine and then enact and build a better future. See, Pluto comes in and he creates a demolition, and then there's the rebuild. And so, in 2020, as Pluto reached its, the first exact hit of America's Pluto return, we were reviewing the past 500 years of atrocities in America. And, you saw the beginning of the Pluto return with all these monuments coming down and, the realities, like the masses having to face the realities of police brutality and the inequities that have been enacted upon the slave class in America, Black people in America. If you go back, 248 years ago, they were signing the Declaration of Independence, but 248 years before that, again, Pluto hadn't been discovered, but they're committing genocide on the Native Americans. The transatlantic slave trade is beginning. Like, all of this stuff is now needing to be dealt with as Pluto returns. And it's not going to be easy. It's terrorizing for us. And America was built on terror. There are karmic repercussions that we have to deal with as a collective to everything that's happened in this country up until this point. And September 1st to November 19th, as Pluto comes for its final moment to the 29th anaretic degree of Capricorn, we are going to be facing that as a world, and we are really going to be facing that as a nation. And again, Capricorn represents the patriarchy, it represents the establishment, it represents traditions, it represents systems. All of that stuff is crumbling. It's been crumbling, in case you hadn't noticed. But if you haven't noticed, you will in the next September 1st to November 19th. And in that time, Pluto will be making some significant aspects. I just talked about the alignment with Neptune and Uranus. Mars, God of War, will be moving into Cancer, where he's debilitated September 1st. I'm going to do another video about that. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following me. Make sure you're hitting the notification bell so that you can see when I'm posting a new video. But Mars is going to be debilitated in Cancer, and it's also going to go retrograde in Cancer. So Mars is going to be there for a much longer time than Mars is normally in a sign. This is also a big part of America's Pluto return and some of the things that America is going to be dealing with over the next few months. And again, I'm going to get more into that in another video. But what I will touch on here, something that has caught my eye about the coming election, is that Mars will be at the 29th anaretic degree of Cancer in a direct opposition to Pluto at the 29th degree anaretic degree of Capricorn, November 2nd, 3 days before the election. This is an intense transit. Pluto, god of the underworld, opposing Mars, the god of war. And the anaretic degree is an honorary degree of any sign. It represents the shadow qualities of any sign. Cancer represents, for the collective, the homeland, the nation, security, and safety. In opposition to Pluto, god of the underworld, it looks like our country is going to be under major duress during this time. And again, I've said it before, I have made very accurate predictions based on the astrology in the past. And it's not because I'm psychic, it's because I'm reading the stars. And to me, this looks like either an attack from a foreign soil onto America, or else a civil war within America. So I don't know which, and I hope that I don't get, censored or put away in the algorithm because of this. So please make sure that you like, you comment, you respond, and you share this. I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm saying this so we can prepare psychologically, physically, spiritually, emotionally for this moment, because we have to rise to the occasion and we have to get through this moment. And we have to decide where we are going to be in this moment and how we are going to be a part of the solution. We have to be strong and we have to be brave. And also, I would recommend to register to vote and early vote. I would not recommend waiting until election day to vote. From the astrology, it looks like that might not even be an option come election day. It could be. Listen, I'm not a psychic. I'm just reading the energy. It may possibly not be an option. I recommend that everyone early vote as soon as possible. That Mars-Pluto opposition that's happening November 2nd could be, we could start feeling or seeing the repercussions of that expressing up to a week before as it's even building. So that's all I'm going to say about that for now. I'm going to talk about it more in the Mars video, so stay tuned for the Mars into Cancer video. But yeah, in general, Pluto coming to the 29th degree of Capricorn in our personal charts, if you are a person who has any planets in the late degrees of the cardinal signs or the earth signs, 26 to 29 degrees in any of those signs, this is the grand finale of a long transformation. It has to do with final goodbyes. In some cases, it has to do with death, literal or metaphorical. It is the final crumbling of something that has been going on for a long time. But it's like over finally between September 1st to November 19th. And then we are moving on to a completely new phase and new areas of transformation. It's never ending, but yeah, but that part is. And we're also tying up a big chapter in America and in humanity. And again, Pluto only comes to this point every 248 years. So this is a really important time in the history of our lives, in the history of the planet, in the history of the country. And so if you're interested in looking at how this affects you personally, definitely contact me for a reading. My books are open. I think it's very important as an astrologer to be available to work with people through this period. And astrology is my joy to share with others. And I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. If you're watching on YouTube, my email is below in the notes. You can email me and get on the calendar. If you're watching on Instagram, well, I only posted the first 5 minutes, so you won't be watching this part there. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I would appreciate feedback and comments on this video below. And yeah, the Pluto return. Wow, it's a time. It is a time to be alive. Thank you for joining me.